It is about time to communicate and give you an update. And I'm guided to just be authentic and no holdbacks, right? Transparent. So I've gone through this experience a few times, and the only way I know how to narrate or communicate and talk about it is I've had these moments where I think I'm completely healed. I'm like, oh my God, I've survived. I've experienced this. I get it. Oh my God, there's been breakthrough. I'm happy. I'm free, right? And then later on, another wound comes up or some type of provoking happens. And I'm guided to be extremely specific, even though I don't have to be specific and be this vulnerable, right? But I do think that it's very important to my type of work and my line of ethics to just be this transparent. So for me, I had all of these extreme breakthroughs in relationships and in communication and in being able to ask for what I want and what I need and standing in support towards myself instead of like people pleasing or doing things crossing my own personal boundaries. I have also healed through the experience of different kinds of abuse and different platforms that this can be experienced from. And so after going through those transformative effects, I literally felt like invincible, right? And then I had this experience where I came into contact with the core wound underneath like a lot of those experiences of like seeking validation from other people or I don't have another narrative other than that. I think that's the best way to describe that. So what came up was the mother wound. And that was like the main wound under everything else. And so it was a little traumatic to like re-identify and to go into that experience of being like an innocent little baby, incapable of like leaving the room or communicating and demanding its needs met, etc., right? And just like peeling back this onion and completely expressing itself. And I'm very grateful for the wound coming up in my adulthood, because what I realized is that in my child form, I was incapable of knowing what gaslighting is, what abuse is. I had no idea. So there was this experience of dissociation or denial or discounting the experience, right? Like, oh, no big deal, you know? And I refused, or just it came natural to not feel sorry and to really wallow in that pain and suffering, although it was a perfectly understandable scenario to be in pain emotionally or mentally, and to have the internal struggle or troubles, etc., based on environmental or societal and all these different evolutionary growth aspects of becoming an adult. And so for me, that compassion, right? Like being able to return to that child self-identity and then like to re-immerse into that experience and identify with that child and have compassion and be like, wow, of course you weren't able to understand these complexities and these aspects of human nature. And I empathize with every single way that you ever personally chose to express yourself. And although the world may not understand expressing being the words that I can only come up with is gothic, right? Like dyeing my hair black, shaving my head into a mohawk, and all of these things that were so healing and instrumental to my personal development, right? That really, really helped me to express myself and to live freely. Like it was so fun for me. And I think that part of that rebellious nature also came from being so unacceptable as I was, or being perceived to be so unacceptable, and then seeking acceptance through stepping into almost like popularity, right? Like this egotistical desire to be on IMDb and to be in movies and to have all these so-called accolades, right? Like being on a billboard, being on TV, doing professional wrestling, and all these other personal identities or aspects of character development that I've gone through, only to end up on the path that I am now. And it's interesting because while you're in the moment, you think, wow, this is it. I really just want to be on a book cover, or like, and to me now I like laugh because it's just like so almost like nonsense, right? And I can see clearly through this. And I also, at a point, I guess you could say, I recognize the celebration of like setting a goal and actually attaining these things, making a manifestation, if you will, of saying, hey, I have this dream, I want to be on a billboard. And then magically, or by blessing of all there is, that I had that experience. And then I was able to map this territory of what did I think it was going to be like? What was it like while it was happening? And now that I reflect back on it, what about that? You know, just looking at it from those different perspectives. And so while I'm in that moment, you know, those past boo-boos, injuries, owies, it's very traumatic. And it's very complex to even label, narrate, identify, and associate with the internal experience that's happening that no one else could possibly comprehend unless they went through those similar baselines and similar experiences. And so I'm here and I'm continuing on the journey and staying the course, attempting to not personally ridicule myself or criticize myself or be, what's that word? Cynical. To not be cynical and not be narcissistic, while also simultaneously being loving towards the self, being accepting, honoring, affectionate, appreciative. Shout out to Brian for encouraging me to read the 5 keys to mindful, I believe it's mindful loving and not mindful living, but it was how to be an adult in a relationship. Very, very great book. Highly recommend. Reading has been a very key instrument to my personal development lately. As of right now, I'm reading this book called Getting the Love You Want. Oh my God, this book, you guys, is so good. It's so good. I tried to read it in the past and let's just say, wasn't ready for that. And this time I'm being pretty deeply immersed and my brain is actually capable of grasping some of these concepts. And while it's sometimes painful to look at the self and the past selves and all of the self-expressions through the lenses of knowing this truth, that can be very impactful. However, again, taking responsibility for my own personal self-development and continuing on the path. And I have to say, my time spent with Amrit Desai, although I can't say he was ever personally my guru, but in some levels perhaps I can, because just being in his presence and being friends with him and knowing his personal story and how my story also relates to this, there's light shed on all these areas that I couldn't comprehend before, to see them in a loving way. And so his writings and the writings of Bapuji, his guru, who I love so much, Swami Kripalu, I love him so much. And I'm continuing to read a lot of these aspects of consciousness and altered states of thinking. I'm also briefing through Be Love Now by Ram Dass, and I feel so much harmonic resonance with this of my personal identity and how I choose to show up, and where I am seeing this to be going. And it's been interesting, and I'm looking forward to who is going to be joining me. I can sense that there are people coming in, and I'm very, very excited to be with them, because it feels like a sense of family and not just a client. I felt really called to recently mention in my work of what makes me so different than everyone else is that I'm not money motivated. Like, you can't convince me to do something I don't want to do for money. And that's something that that makes me feel really good about myself personally. So, and I'm not going to let someone who doesn't have money, I'm not going to let that be a reason why we don't work together. I like to also make jokes sometimes of like, you have your whole life to pay me. And maybe one day you'll be really rich and you can give me some land. And on this land I can continue. And I can maybe host retreats or have my own shop, or I don't know. I have such an open heart and an open vision. I don't really know where this is going. I just feel like sometimes I don't have any other word but to say a mother. I'm a mother, but I'm not an actual mother, right? I haven't given birth, at least not yet. I'm not completely closed off to this, although that's a whole nother topic, talking about technocracy and transhumanism and how I'm just like super not for those things, right? And there's many reasons to be shadow banned or how do you say, maybe like canceled or lack of free speech, things of this nature. And I'm happy to have these conversations, one-on-one, and have this intellectual, in-depth harmonic resonance. However, let's just say that this conversation isn't always for everyone, especially with the choices that they have done with their body and how they choose to continue living and do not choose to change, do not want to change, do not even know why or what should change, etc. So it's important for me to not pervert the will of another individual. I'm very firm in that belief. However, if there is an opening of someone saying, hey, change my mind, I would love to talk to them about changing their diet and what exact chemicals to remove from their personal life. I'm going to joke and say, insert propylene glycol here. And also how the skin is an organ that eats what you put on top of it, and how it's very important what topicals you use. But again, these teachings can come for those who are ready to receive and that actually want this service, that want correction or want education or want to just receive loving presence or witness and guidance at times, right? I really love to give custom guided meditations and to redirect your attention and concentration on something that will provide breakthrough, recovery, and remembrance and total I keep wanting to say harmonic resonance. Should I say healing this time? There's simple words that could be used. And again, each person has their own level of development. And so I can respect the anger and validate the anger, that it makes perfect sense why that's there and that it doesn't have to go away. You can choose to be loving at a later time, or you can die being angry, and that's okay. Just, I can only do my part of encouraging you that you may like to feel a little different, and that there is an opportunity cost of paying the price of thinking and feeling and being unhappy and angry right now in exchange for feeling all the other ways you could. So, aho MITAKUYE OYSAIN, Jai Bhagwan, Namaste, haush haush, ush, 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 sana, 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 mi familia. Heal, 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 heal. Heal yourself. You can. I believe you can. You will. See you.